And we're back, folks, and the tortoise has moved from its cover. It is still in the mouth and jaws of the lion, but we now have the interesting behavior that the youngster saw this happen, came running across to check it out, and what we have found is that now two lions have two tortoises. We have two tortoises. The one on the right is in a very bad shape, and the one on the left still looks very intact, but I think because of the tenacious behavior of the one on the right, that young female, possibly breaking in the lion on the left, which looks like a young male, is more interested in trying to attempt. But the youngster in the front of the picture is learning. This is what they do. There's a lot of instinct involved in lion and cat behavior, but a lot of what they do is they also have to play. They have to investigate. They have to move around. And as these two lions emerged out of the bush, oh, look at the eyes on that one. Here we go. There's some action. They all want a piece of it. This is what happens at kindergarten when one kid has a toy and the other one wants it. They have to protect it. That's mine, he says. And the youngster in the foreground, he just wants to play. You know, he wants to play with the older boys, but he's not allowed at the moment. They're not allowing him to play, but he's very keen. So this is the time of the afternoon when you start seeing lions yawning like that, where they can quite often start to get up and start moving. Not necessarily when you see youngsters doing it. Youngsters are just way more full of energy. Just like in the human race, youngsters run around and sleep when they want to. It's the big lionesses that we have towards the left here that are flat, flat, flat. And if they start yawning, if they start getting up, then it's possible that these animals might start moving. This is quite a wonderful sighting, folks. I've never seen anything quite like this before. I've seen lions playing with tortoises, but never with two. Bit of show and tell. My tortoise is bigger than yours. There we go. He's struggling to hold it in the mouth, and that one is definitely smaller and possibly could have been the female, and maybe it was a love affair that was terminated in its infancy. Yeah, Pagan asked the question whether they could have been caught mating, and the first tortoise I definitely identified as a male because of that indentation in the belly, and the one on the left that the lion is busy licking, I got a brief glimpse of it now, but I didn't quite see the bottom, the underneath side, and the underneath side did look a little flatter, which often indicates the female. So I didn't quite see, but to have two leopard tortoises right next to each other, I mean, we can assume, but this love affair was terminated early. Very, very sad for the tortoises, but there are plenty of them out there. There is the classic lion pose, the pose that was the inspiration of the Sphinx in Egypt, that sideward facing lion, big paws, big head, regal, ancestral, kings of the jungle. So the lion on the left, you can see the hair around the ears, a little bit more hair below, on almost like sideburns, a little bit of fur developing on the top of the head. I mean, that's indication that he's a male, a young male, not very old. And then the one on the right, definitely a female, probably about the same age. And the scars on their face are indicating that they've been involved in a number of feeding frenzies with the adults. There's no love lost when lions come to feeding. And that's older sister telling younger one that they can't play. And look at that sulky face. Oh my word. That is a sulky face. That is definitely a very sulky face. So a head count of the lions, I think I counted 12, but now they seem to be more in the open. I've got... Can count 12, but let's go through there, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the right. Yes, it's 12. I have 12. There's one youngster here. I heard one of the other guys on the radio saying there was only one baby. I believe there should be 2 more somewhere, but I don't know where they are. I'm not going to make any guesses or assume anything, but it's not a very positive sign to have a pride with one cub and the others nowhere to be seen. But it is a very harsh reality out there, and there's the typical downward facing dog, or the cat stretch for the yoga enthusiasts out there. The rub of the head, just trying to be gentle and loving. Look at that. That's what lions do. Any of you have a cat at home that likes to come and rub its head up against your leg or your face and lick you? That's what these animals do. They are very loving and very social. I was talking a moment ago about the scratches and scars on the youngsters' faces. When these animals feed, there's no love lost, and they are very vicious in that feeding. But afterwards, they clean each other's faces, they apologize, they say sorry for being a bit mean. As we have to apologize, and that's what keeps their structure so nicely together, keeps them in tune, keeps them as a tightened unit. Without that, they would not survive. Lion strength comes from their unity, and someone mentioned earlier, with the Styx pride and this pride interact. In numbers, probably a few females would maybe interact with other females, but it's generally the job of the males to fight against the other pride males. Generally the males that do all the hard work. The females try and avoid each other. That's why lions call, females call as well, to get a sense of where the other animals might be. They stay within their boundaries, they stay within the territorial markings that the males provide, and they try and avoid that confrontation. Because for 4, 5, 6 females to fight 4, 5, 6 females is going to end in bloodshed, it's going to end in injury, and neither of the animals can afford that. They need the numbers, they need the soldiers in the battle when it comes to feeding. But this is incredible stuff. The temperature's dropped a few degrees. Adam and Paula are asking, could the tortoises fight back? It's not a bad question, but the defense strategy of a tortoise is not kung fu or any type of fighting style. It is protection through a very, very hard shell. That is their means of protection. They are very slow animals. Some animals rely on being very fast to get away. Some animals rely on camouflage or very cryptic coloration. The tortoise has got the cryptic coloration, but it didn't work this time. They obviously hope to avoid detection, and then if detected, for the animal to lose interest and move away. But when you have a number of youngsters like this, you're bound to find eventually one is going to break through, as we have seen here. And that lion on the left is way more interested in what his sister has opened than what he's opened. It's like at Christmas, when you can't open the one Christmas box. Doesn't matter what's in the other Christmas box, it's open, and the guy on the left wants it. There we go. It looks quite violent, folks, but that is important play, important ritual for lions. That youngster has to be able to rough and tumble with the big guys. See the behavior that it's displaying. Its ears go flat. It growls. It needs to basically just, be a strong individual. And it's very important for them to adapt. The one on the right is only playing. The adult, the older of the two, is just a youngster herself. Very interested in mom's little baby. Very interested in, while mom's not looking, she's got that was a nice big jab. If only the tortoises could do that, but they can't. But the cub is displaying submissive behavior, but it's also not backing down, but it's not aggressive. It's just play, folks. It's just play. See, there's a dominance between them, and size does matter. Males are generally bigger than females, and a male and female of the same age are definitely, the male is bigger than the female and will outcompete. But what I've seen in lions every time, no matter what happens, unless there's a big male on board, is that if lions make a kill or they have some treat or some surprise, they'll generally keep it to themselves regardless, and their behavior will keep the other individual from coming towards it. It's mine, I saw it first, leave me alone. I saw that once with the classic example with the porcupine, where two subadult males, a little bit older than these, probably about 3 years old, came across a porcupine, and the first male had no idea what to do with this spiky black and white individual that was stomping his feet on the ground and sounding very crazy, and the down from the back, bit it on the back of the neck, and then proceeded to eat it in front of the other male and the other 3 females that slowly came into picture. All the other individuals eventually just sat down and didn't even attempt to try and steal that meat from that animal, because it's just not worth the effort sometimes. But when it comes to big males, see, can you see the interest in their eye? They all want to play. They all want to play with what he has. Hello Scarlett, you ask whether biting the tortoise's shell can damage the teeth, and that is most certainly. Most certainly. That's why the adults probably aren't doing it. The youngsters are just way too inquisitive. They generally don't have the jaw power to get around and break it. But I think just through the persistence of the one, or maybe it was persistence of a number of them, they eventually made a crack and slowly but surely got through. But it is not easy going. Shells are very, very hard. You'd be hard pressed to break through one with a hammer. So trying to do so with your teeth is not something I would advise to anybody. Not something I would advise at all. But can you see the interest? They all want to play, and there we go. From a young age, the youngsters learning how to groom. We've all seen our cats do this at home, I'm sure. Lick the paw and then wipe the face. Very, very important element, and it shows that lions were once solitary. They don't necessarily need to clean their own faces now if they're in a pride, but if they get separated, or if they're on their own, or if they become nomadic, for example, they will need to clean. So folks, on the topic of cats, and while these lions are still lying flat and freshening up, James is on foot, and he's managed to locate a track and a sign out there of possibly a nice big and furry animal.